Tomorrow is round one of the French presidential election. Each French party has put up a candidate. The people will vote for their favorite candidate. The top two vote getters will move on to the next round. It's widely believed that Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen will be the top two vote getters. And Macron has even pivoted to directly campaigning against Le Pen even now before the vote has even started. Well, the U.S. State Department, as well as elements in the British government and other European governments, are acting like they're in full panic mode over the possibility of a Marine Le Pen victory. Now, everything they wanted before the war in Ukraine even started, they're saying is an even more urgent necessity now to fight Russia. Well, they all hated Le Pen to begin with. Now they're saying that it is an absolute necessity to defeat her in order to, quote unquote, fight Russia. Now, I want to give a little bit of background here. Marine Le Pen is the leader of Rally National, formerly known as Front National. She changed the name in 2018. Once upon a time, it was a very hardline conservative national populist party. Under Marine Le Pen, it's essentially the French version of the Swedish Democrats. It's a centrist party that simply takes the hardest line on immigration. Now, for the past 6 presidential elections, going back to 1988, a Le Pen has always been one of the top 4 candidates in the presidential elections. So before Marine Le Pen, there was Jean-Marie Le Pen, her father, who was much more hardline on everything than she is. Now, Front National was founded in the 70s. It burst onto the scene with the 1986 general election. They got 9.7% of the vote and 35 of the seats. The French government changed their entire system of elections just to suppress this political party. They had a new election, an early election 2 years later. They ended proportional representation and adopted a more American-style election which locks in the establishment. And so the way French elections work now I would say is the most similar to Louisiana. The state of Louisiana has something that's called the Cajun system, which is a little bit more democratic than the rest of the United States because it gives outliers a greater opportunity to get in, but it's still winner take all. And so 2 years later, Front National got the exact same percentage of the vote, but instead of 35 seats, they got 1 seat. Because after the initial vote, there was a round 2 where winner take all. And so what used to be the whole election with proportional representation became a primary. And then after the primary, there'd be a round 2. And of course, it would favor the most establishment parties. Now, because of EU rules, France is not allowed to hold American-style elections for their members of the European Parliament. So Front National has always gotten a huge chunk of the French MEPs. Now, in the 1988 presidential election, Jean-Marie Le Pen came in 4th place with 14.4%. The next election, he got 4th place with 15%. In 2002, he got 2nd place with 16.9%. However, the first place winner was an establishment center-right candidate. The media went absolutely crazy, saying that Jean-Marie Le Pen was the second coming of Adolf Hitler, and every single party mobilized for the center-right candidate. All the left-wing parties told their people to go back to the polls and vote for him. And so he was slaughtered in round two. He only got about 19% in round two. 2007, he only got 10.4%. He still came in fourth place. Now, I believe it was around this time that there was a huge splinter group, and a chunk of the membership split off and started a rival party. However, in 2012, Jean-Marie Le Pen's daughter, Marine Le Pen, got 17.9%, coming in third place. Now, early on, it looked like she had a very good chance of coming in second place. She was outmaneuvered on immigration by Nicolas Sarkozy. When she was campaigning, she went way to the middle and spent all her time trying to grovel to the media and holding speeches flanked by non-European immigrants and talking about how much she liked them. And Sarkozy went way to the right on immigration and campaigned as an anti-immigration hardliner and bumped her out of second place. Now, in 2017, she came in second place with Emmanuel Macron in first place. Of course, the establishment all pushed Macron, and she only got about 33% of the vote in round two. Now, polls show currently that she could potentially beat Macron. When Russia first invaded Ukraine, Macron had a big boost in the polls for a while. The first few weeks, he kept going up. First of all, Macron has been a major advocate of making France a bigger military power. And he's been doing stuff in Libya, in Mali, and other countries with the French military. He's a big advocate of a European army. The caveat is there's huge tension between America and France. The French had negotiated a deal to make $66 billion worth of submarines for Australia. This was considered a major boost to the French economy. It was going to bring in a bunch of high-paying jobs. America swooped in and bullied Australia into canceling the whole contract, and America started a new military alliance with Australia and Britain, in which Australia had to agree to have American companies make these submarines. Well, the French have already left NATO once before, so there's a huge backlash against NATO going on in France, a backlash against military involvement with America. Of course, Macron wants a European army. The German Christian Democrats are in favor of this as well. Macron wants to shut America out of it. So essentially, he wants a new European army that shuts America out. And after America stole away this submarine deal, Macron even signed a huge military alliance with Greece outside of NATO, which he was promoting as sort of the beginning of a new European army that's not under the control of American Britain. Well, after Russia invaded, Macron was the main European leader by a huge margin that talks to Putin on the phone. I mean, he talks to Putin 2-3 times a week on the phone. And so he was seen as being this guy who was real strong on military and defense and very actively involved in the situation in Ukraine. But then gas prices started rising, and Macron's surge in popularity has been coming back down as fast as it went up. And a lot of people are crediting rapidly rising French gas prices. And essentially, for the first time, polls are showing Marine Le Pen as potentially being able to beat Macron. Now, in the lead up to the Hungarian election, the polls were claiming that a six-party anti-Fidesz coalition had a serious chance of beating Fidesz. Instead, they lost horribly. Fidesz had a victory big enough to see from the moon. And a lot of people are hoping that the same thing is going to play out in France, that the pollsters are intentionally underestimating Marine Le Pen's chances. I don't know if that's true. It might be wishful thinking. Now, I got another whiteboard to show you. So I want to demonstrate how the general elections work in France now that they have American-style elections instead of proportional representation. So in 2017, Les Républicains En Marche, Macron's party, got 28.2%, but 53.4% of all seats in the parliament. Now, their ally, Movement for Democracy, got 4.1%, but 7.3% of the seats, the third largest chunk of seats. So the top party and the 6th party collectively got 32.3%, but they got a huge, almost 60% of all the seats. I forget, maybe it's 58%, but that's because they run as centrist parties. So when they go to round two, if they're running against a party on the right, then all of the left-wing vote goes to them. If they're running against a party on the left, then all of the right-wing vote goes to them. And it's just like America, the establishment always wins. And then you've got Front National came in third place, 13.2%. They got the 8th largest amount of votes. 8th largest. 5 parties got fewer votes than they did, but more seats. In many cases, substantially more seats. Now, in the 2019 European Parliament election, Front National, by that time renamed as Rally National, got about 23% of the popular vote and about 23% of the French seats in the European Parliament. That's the difference between proportional representation and American-style winner-takes-all. And as I said earlier, between 1986 and 1988, France changed their entire system of elections from proportional representation to American-style winner-takes-all just to keep Front National out of their government. All right, thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, tell me what you think about this, and please sign up to my backup channels on BitChute and Odyssey. Click the links in the description below and click the subscribe button. New video every few days.